Hello there. It's been a couple of days. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather, but I'm better again now. And I'm back to making some manager content. For today, we're going to be finishing up the Alfa Romeo series, the original one that was the Survive series with Bottas and Show. And of course, the goal here is basically just to cut down a little bit on the series. We still have the around the grid, we still have the hard difficulty has, and we still have the female challenge. So honestly, 4 series is probably a little bit too much. So going down to 3 or even 2 down the line is probably going to be beneficial. But as I said, we're going to be focusing on finish off this series today. We have 5 races remaining. We have Austin, Mexico, Sao Paulo, Las Vegas, and then Yas Island, or Abu Dhabi. So 5 races, 2 sprints unless I'm mistaken. So yeah, we have a little bit of work ahead of us here. Now, in terms of the championship, it is basically decided. Bottas is basically also secured first place unless he DNFs 5 times in a row and Show pulls off some amazing performance. And honestly, with that in mind, we're probably not going to be doing too much of racing content. We're just going to keep on also running standard difficulty for both for this one, just to kind of finish it off. And after I'm done with this one, I'll be sitting down and recording a little bit more. Luckily today I have plenty of time, and hopefully everyone will be able to enjoy the race later today. With that in mind though, we'll be getting straight into this, and hopefully it'll be enjoyable. First things first though, we have a couple of issues we need to solve pertaining to the car, pertaining to the staff. But honestly, let's first have a look here. Just the front wings failing, nothing really too major, shouldn't be an issue. We have some tension here that we had last time. It has been solved. Bottas gets morale, loses some aggression. Affinity goes back up, which should make the last few races a little bit easier. We also finished a front wing research, and honestly, I just want to have a quick look here at the regulations. It seems that we are getting hit hard on the low speed, a little bit on the medium, and very low on the high speed. So yeah, looks 30, 20, 10%. So we'll just continue doing the research that we have done so far. Research is still going to be your most efficient way of kind of developing your car, so to speak. So if you are focused on just getting a better car rather than doing the science, doing research, and, you know, kind of setting your car up for next season, it's going to be far more viable than anything else. And that is kind of what we're doing here. Still just going to get that done out of habit more so than anything else. And we do have a contract expiring here, but we'll leave that as it is. Board attendants, they were happy with what happened, which is good, I guess. And we also have a driver development update, cornering and defending upgrades for, our drivers. Decent enough. And we're actually looking at exhauster wary and wary here for the pit crews. Again, I don't think this is really reliable, which is kind of a weird thing to say probably, but I'm pretty sure right now the pit crew stats aren't, you know, the reality of the situation. So it's a bit annoying because we aren't actually able to put in as much training as we'd like, because, well, if we do, we're most likely going to put ourselves into a very, very negative situation. But our pit crew here is pretty decent, so honestly, we can just leave things as they are. We don't really have any huge concerns in terms of pit crew performance. And we are going into a triple header here. Then we have 1 week before we go back to Las Vegas, so yeah, that should be a fairly decent monthly schedule, if you will. So now this contract is ending, and again, we're just going to leave it as it is. We can probably, you know, argue for a new contract if we need to towards the end of the year. But as I said, the plan is incredibly simple here. We're going to be finishing off this series today. Which, honestly, it has been a good series. I've learned a lot. I've had fun. But it's more just... as I said, we already have a series that's kind of similar with the around the grid stuff. So this one probably could have been finished after the first season, to be fair. So let's just jump into the United States Grand Prix here and see how we perform. So we're ready for the sprint, and degradation is fairly high. So even when we're running a normal degradation on the mediums here, we're probably not going to have a very good time. So as you can see, potentially viable, but not really. And we don't really have any hards. If you really want to be cheeky here, you could do your practice manually, get some hards. I generally don't do that because it just makes the game even more easier and takes quite a lot of time too, which is probably the main reason. But what we're going to do here is go on to the mediums. We're going to go attack. And what we might do is just play it a little bit slower. Basically do something akin to this. After that initial, might even go this far, provided, of course, that we don't completely cook the tires. Because as you can see, we don't really lose a lot of race pace doing this over the course of the race. We're going to be losing out big in the, the first 10 laps, but that'll come back to us over the last course. And let's say that we are here with this sort of degradation, even here maybe, and then we can go full attack towards the end. So we'll have to see how the temps are going to affect our tires, but we are going to be attacking from the get-go. We kind of have to do not lose too many positions, and we'll take it a little bit easier after that first lap, first 2 laps maybe, and then try and do something towards the end. And that's going to be the plan. Nothing too special here. Nothing you really can do here because of degradation. So we qualify in 2nd and 4th. That's kind of what you expect. And that's an amazing launch there from Bottas, to be fair. And he takes the lead. Oh, never mind.
Be smart.
Be smart, yes. So he had the chance of taking the lead there. Couldn't really pull it off, unfortunately. But now we're running 2nd and 4th. We're going to already tune them down to aggressive. And as I've done here, we put them to rarely and low. The reason for that being incredibly simple. You want to kind of take low risk. And you don't really lose anything from doing so. Now, Oshua is going to lose a position because we're not going full attack. But again, this is a position we can get back. It's a sprint. We have kind of secured the championship here. What I want is just to have a very calm, very secure race where we don't actually throw anything away. Again, it's a sprint. There's not too many points up for grabs, and we'll be dealing with it accordingly. A little bit safer, you can say, as a result. So I think we're going to already tune them down to light on the tire usage. And if we fall back too far, we might, stop doing that. But currently here, this is perfectly okay. And as I said, when we can tune the tires up to just full attack towards the end, this is definitely going to come back to us. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. We're probably going to also have Leclerc just straight up overtake us here. And if it does, it's not a bad thing. Again, we should be able to keep up with them so we can use the DRS zones to kind of catch up again. And being in a DRS train while kind of conserving your tires, it's not a bad thing. It's a very, very viable strategy, and it's one that we're going to try and employ here. But as you can see, not really working out too well for us. We'll have to see if we might need to tune them up to standard. But honestly, for now, this is perfectly okay. And I want to try this out and see how it plays out for us. So strategy-wise, this hasn't really worked out for us. We're currently still in the DRS train, but we haven't really been able to make anything happen. So with just a few laps to go here, we're going to tune both cars up to attack. We're going to be trying to make something happen. But the DRS train here might actually be, a bit of a crux in order to make anything really happen. So we'll have to see if also the tires survive. Because again, degradation is high here. And this might be us pushing these tires a little bit too hard. And because we've fallen back, the confidence has also taken a hit, which is also a concern. So could very well be that this has been a massive mistake in terms of strategy. But we'll have to see though. Bottas is making some moves. 3 laps to go, about to be 2. We'll have to see if we can do the same here for show. Get him past the Merc, get him past Leclerc. Just a couple of laps to go here, but honestly, this isn't a bad starting point for the race either. It's a little bit disappointing considering where we qualified, but it is what it is. Now for show, he might be able to launch on the Merc here, and he did. Bottas up into 2nd, so we still have an opportunity. But as it turns out, we actually should have gone on the attack probably a lap earlier, at least for Bottas' sake. Now, we are going to allow him to just use deploy here. That should actually be enough for Bottas to get past Verstappen. And we're going to do the same here for show. He just needs to send everything that he has. And with that, we're going to go for high overtake risk for both boys on the last lap here. A little bit, self-contradictory to what I said earlier. but I think we don't really have a choice. And Bottas now is kind of launching an attack, maybe? Oh, not really. Almost ate the back of Verstappen's car. But I think if he really wanted to, he could have launched it. Probably would have if we just gave the order a little bit earlier. Show here, kind of boxed in, can't really make anything happen. It is what it is. We do have a little bit of a concern with fuel, but I think we should have just about enough that we can just roll over the finish line. I would hope. And we ended up 2nd and 5th, but we did indeed just roll out of fuel. So, didn't really work out, but again, it's kind of hard to come up with strategies which are better than the AIs on high degradation tracks, particularly also when you only have one set of tires. But 2nd and 5th is still acceptable. The idea didn't work out as well as I hoped, but that is, again, just how things go sometimes. Now, we have Sunday here. It's going to be partly sunny. We're going to be starting 4th and 1st. So for Bottas here, the goal is going to be incredibly simple. Just start on the medium, go on to another medium. Maybe go into hard, we'll see. We might flip these around. Honestly, we probably should. So let's just do it like this. And then we'll have to see what we do here towards the end. We actually have another set of mediums. So yeah, we could do something like this. Just calm down on that final medium set. And this should actually work out pretty well. So gives us options. We'll have to see though how far ahead we are by lap 13. But it should definitely be a viable strategy. Now for show here, I'm thinking that we do something a little bit more cheeky. And start him on the hards. And that should be good enough that he can keep on going for a while. And he does not have 3 sets of mediums as Bottas does. And as such, we are going to have to probably be a little bit more careful with his strategy. Potentially just doing a standard soft towards the end. And even that isn't really a bad thing. So, a little bit different. Kind of the same, honestly. But if we were to say try anything else from a strategy standpoint, let's see that we look at the standard strategies here. We are still quicker. This one is kind of weird, honestly, because you can go full attack here. You only save 4 seconds though in comparison, so this one is still a lot quicker. And for this one, the only thing you probably could do is go like so. Probably go even full attack on that hard stint. Do something like this. As you can see, it is a slight amount quicker. Well, slight amount, 10 seconds. So doing this is also perfectly viable. But we need to remember, we are going to be attacking for a couple of laps here. So it's a bit weird. But you can also take advantage of the stock strategies and just kind of change them for a little bit. You do want to push your tires down to this white line though. Because basically running attack... we were actually putting him on the wrong strategy. Running attack down to the line here, the tire degradation is not going to be greater than the time gained from attack. Basically, if I ran it like this running normal, I'd be losing a ton of time as I get closer to 40, 50%, 30%. But as long as you're running attack, it's actually not a negative thing. It's actually just purely a positive one. So I do probably come across as a little bit preachy here, but basically there should be an influx of a lot of new players right now, so I'm going to probably sit down tonight and try and make a beginner's guide.
We can try to use overtake end of straight. Yep.
Okay, so decent start here for Bottas. Not too bad for show either. He is potentially going to lose a place, but that is kind of what you expect when you start on a harder compound. Not really a big deal, to be fair. And the AI is pushing all they can for these first 2 laps, so once they have kind of used everything that they have a little bit, we should be in a better position to make moves. But yeah, being right back. Here we are. So basically, we got a replay of the start. The tires there, we're the only one on a hard tire. There's some soft runners towards the back. So pit stop wise, this is going to be a fairly interesting endeavor. And as you see, show here is getting kind of left behind with Russell. But again, that shouldn't be an issue. He'll have an advantage come late race. For now though, the goal here is going to be incredibly simple. Try and create a gap with Bottas so that he can run away from Verstappen. Should take a couple of laps to get that done. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be too much of a challenge. Potentially, we might just have to run with Verstappen for a little while and recharge, which it looks like we are going to have to do here because Verstappen is keeping up with us fairly well. In terms of tire heat, these can go up to 130 degrees. The hards can go up to 135. So that is not really a concern. So what I'm thinking that we do now is actually we're going to have Bottas kind of recharge a little bit. And the reason for that is incredibly simple. We can take advantage of Verstappen. He is still pushing. You can see that on his degradation. So if we can just stay with him while we recharge, then we can use our energy to kind of push away once he has to calm down a little bit. And it shouldn't be too long, maybe a lap or two. So for now, we'll just wait until we get to that point, and then we're going to push and try and get away from him. So the time has come. We are going to give a full deploy here. And I think what's going to happen now is we're going to actually overtake before we get to the end of the straight. That's going to give us a pretty sizable gap here already. As you can see, 8/10 there by the end of the straight. And as a result, we've already created that gap that we wanted. Now, Show is running on hard tires. We can actually tune him down to aggressive here because he is running at the back of the RS train. We don't really need to push him super hard. You just need to stay with that train for the time being. And that should keep things kind of nice and steady. We are, of course, going to try and keep moving him forwards, but we don't need to sacrifice any more time than we need to keep him where he is. So for the time being, we'll try and get Bottas as far away as we can before that first pit stop, and we're going to be trying to move Show upwards, slowly but surely, and see if we can do something with this DRS train. So currently, we are getting very close to that first pit stop for one, but Show is running with Perez. He's not really that far behind the rest of the pack here. We have tuned him back up to attack. And with this, we can actually stretch these hards a little bit longer if we need to. But with that said, we are going to go ahead and pit Bottas now. As you can see, he's expected to come out in 10th. And honestly, that isn't really a big problem. If he comes out in 10th, he's actually going to hopefully beat Norris here. If he can't, that's still fine. But that's going to be a very annoying DRS train to try and play with. So hopefully he can make this happen. He probably will not, though, considering that we did have that penalty. Sorry, not a penalty. Pit stop error. But even then, he comes out in 9th. And let's be honest, we lost about 4 seconds. We could potentially have been out here ahead of Hamilton even. And that would have made things a lot easier. But the gaps here aren't actually that problematic. And we should have no problem regaining the lost time. So for the time being, we'll just kind of stay where we are. And as you can see, Show hasn't really been able to put this hard tie to maximum use because of the fact that he ended up pretty far behind in the DRS train. So a little bit unfortunate. Haven't really been able to take complete advantage of the hard. And of course, what we're going to do with Bottas now is incredibly simple. We'll be moving him forwards as quickly as possible. And hopefully here, Gasly will not have, Ocon will not have DRS. But he does, and that's going to make our life slightly harder here. But Bottas is not swayed by that and just goes for it anyways. For now, though, as I said, we're just going to wait for Show to pit in a few laps' time. We're going to try keep on moving Bottas forwards. And once the rest of the pack pits, we should have a pretty sizable gap to them. So currently, we have a little bit of a conundrum here with Show. As you can see, Show is currently stuck in the middle of Russell, Perez, Verstappen, and Leclerc. So provided none of them is planning to pit on this lap, but they will be pitting soon, what we can do, because of the fact that we stretched these tires a little bit, is that we can go ahead and actually pit Show right now. He's going to estimate to come out in 14th, potentially behind Albon and crew. But the hope here is that we can potentially jump these guys during the pit stop. So it is a bit of a risk. Do not get me wrong. It is actually a pretty big risk. But I think it's one that's worth taking to just get that overtake by pitting. And hopefully here we can come out in, you know, a good position, but that looks a little bit worrisome. 11th, it's not too bad there, honestly. It's just 2 cars that we need to beat. And honestly, with Show here having maximum energy, and now DRS with only Stroll, that should be pretty straightforward and simple to do. And with that, we should have now gotten some overtakes done simply by pitting a couple of laps earlier. The rest are still going though, which kind of hints towards them potentially doing just a 2-stopper, maybe even trying to stretch a, you know, insane 1-stopper. But for now, things are looking really, really good, and we'll keep things going until the next pit stop, moving both cars forwards. So the rest of the pack now, with the exception of Verstappen, has actually pitted. And as you can see, Show's now up into third. He's actually up in second if you look at it from a pit stop perspective. So this is looking really, really good. Ocon is still staying out. And as you can see, Show now has closed down to Verstappen, just 3 seconds behind. And basically a pit stop ahead. So looking really, really good. Bottas also has a huge gap. So honestly, right now, we're just going to have both of them push as much as they can until we get to that next pit stop. So we're getting very close to that second pit stop of ours. We basically are there according to the plans, but because the gradation was lower than anticipated, we're going to do one more lap for both of our drivers. Now the AI hasn't actually suffered that much degradation, which is a little bit concerning, because again, they're probably just going to pit once more. We're still planning for 2 more pit stops, so that does kind of, you know, throw a monkey wrench into our plans. But as long as we do not lose too much when we pit, as you can see, this shows estimated to come out 6th next to Verstappen. There's just one DRS ring really here with Perez and Russell. And even that one shouldn't be too much of a, you know, obstacle. They have used a lot of their tires. And I don't think we should have too many problems here either, because Perez just now had a lockup and kind of, you know, remove that obstacle. Bottas comes out in third. Show comes out in fifth, actually. He managed to beat Verstappen out there just barely. And with that, as I said, we're in a very, very promising position here. We're going to do what we did last time, just move our cars forwards, and then we're going to, you know, kind of get prepped for that final pit stop. As you can see here, with 15 laps to go, the rest of the field is starting to do their final pit stops, but we basically caught up to them, and it's kind of leading at this point. Leclerc went for soft, Verstappen went for soft. We're going to have Russell, Perez, both of them are still needing to pit. And with the gaps that we have here, 27 seconds, 32 seconds for Bottas, about 20 seconds for Show, I say we are in a pretty good position here. And as you can see, we're kind of stretching these mediums a little bit longer than we should. But that shouldn't actually be a problem. It should allow us to go a little bit more aggressive here on that final stint. We could potentially switch out this one up to an attack one as well. But honestly, for Bottas, I think the best thing we can do now is just pit him. Cover off. We don't need to take any risks. For Show, I'd like him to push for a couple more laps. Push these down to, say, 35%. So 1-2 more laps here. Just keep on pushing. Your lap times are not bad. Leclerc is 4/10 quicker. Verstappen is a little bit more quicker, but also further behind. So the main concern is just Leclerc. So honestly, not really a big deal. And we're going to allow Show here to do this one more lap. And then we're going to put him on the soft tire. And we're going to be running that soft tire on aggressive rather than standard. Because of the fact that we stretch these tires for a few more laps. And that should make it a little bit easier to get overtakes done. Should make it a little bit easier to secure second place here. Because that is the reality of the situation. A little bit of a pit stop error there, but comes out in third. And we should have no problem here chasing down Leclerc and then getting the overtake done. Show has gotten the move done. Got it with a pass on the straight. Pretty simple stuff. Just DRSs his way by, and as you can see there, he was cleanly by the time they get into the corner. And the question now is just, can he stay ahead for the last couple of laps there? 2 laps to go. Show is going to be pushing here with the hopes of kind of leaving Leclerc behind before the DRS zone. He did kind of achieve that. And unless we now have an incident, that should be second place kind of squared away. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and we do like to see that. For now though, we're just going to speed things along here. Nothing really major can happen, as I said, unless we have an incident. But we have Bottas winning, Show second, then Leclerc most likely. Then the 2 Red Bulls with Verstappen and Perez. Potentially though, we could have Russell launch an attack on Perez. It is more doubtful though. So yeah, probably not going to happen here. Just a few corners remaining. Hamilton, Sainz, Gasly, and Alonso. So yeah, pretty much straightforward here. So yeah, Bottas, Show. Good performance. We did not get fastest lap though. I should probably have pushed a little bit harder for that. But yeah, Leclerc secured that one. Not really a problem. We still have a very, very healthy lead here. And as you can see, Leclerc got just as many points as Show. So Show more secure in second, honestly. Not really a big deal. And Constructors, the Pit Stop Championship, I think we've got everything kind of under wraps here. But unfortunately, we did have a couple of errors. They do happen, but it didn't have any huge impact on the result. It is more problematic if you have an error that chucks you into a 2, 3, 4 car DRS train. And luckily enough, we were able to kind of avoid that scenario. Now, we do have some car damage, I believe. Failed underfloor, failed suspension. We're just going to go ahead and replace both of those. And I'm going to go through the warehouse here because I forgot last time around to just manufacture 2 new front wings. It happens. And we're going to go ahead and manufacture a new suspension. Kind of have to. And we're also going to go ahead and manufacture a new underfloor. Like so. And with that, we're just going to go directly here into Mexico. It's pretty straightforward and simple. We do have some research done before that, though, on the underfloor. And as you can see here, gets at about just 70% here. 80% on the drag reduction scheme. So we do have a little bit of work to kind of do here. Airflow sensitivity is something that is kind of important for just being able to follow the car in front. So for our car, that is actually not something that is important. We still want to focus on low speed cornering, medium speed cornering. Maybe you'd like to focus a little bit on the airflow sensitivity, but for now, honestly, that isn't a huge concern for us. Neither is drag reduction, so we'll do something like this. Again, I prefer to use one engineer due to the fact that it's the most financially efficient way to get expertise. It's maybe not the best, but as I said, it's the most financially effective, so that is why I enjoy doing that. Now, both cars in Q2, Q3 shouldn't be a problem. Having both cars into Q3 for the rest of the season should also not be a problem. And I'll try and remember to get fastest lap here, but no guarantees. Let's jump into the Mexican Grand Prix. For Mexico, things are looking good with us qualifying front row, both cars. Now, the race itself is going to be slightly interesting because we're going to get rain towards the end. Excuse me, got hiccups. It's going to be very minor rain, but, and I honestly don't know if this is going to be enough for us to have to go on to inters. And judging by the rubber and the grip, I'd say probably not. If anything, this might be slightly inter, just these few laps here. But we don't have an upgraded weather center, because I like to keep it a little bit interesting. So we don't actually know how much rain is going to arrive, and that is a tad problematic. So what we're going to do is just do medium to hard, and then if the rain arrives and we need to go inters, we can go inters. If it doesn't arrive, we can just go softs, or, you know, if it's not too much, we can still just do softs like this. That's going to be the main strategy here. And honestly, we're just going to run this for both cars. It is the best strategy that we have available to us. We're starting front row. Both cars should be able to kind of run away. And that's going to be kind of the play here. Just get both cars away from the rest of the pack. Create a bit of gap before the rain arrives. And hopefully, by the time we do pit for this first pit stop, we have a little bit of a gap and can do, you know, a little bit of decision making once we actually see how much rain arrives on the track, because everything up to 0.8 millimeters.
We're about to find out at the Mexico City Grand Prix.
Yeah, sorry about that. Everything up to 0.8 millimeters, you're usually fine with just running a soft tire or a dry tire. Sure, you're not having the best of starts. Falls down to third. That is not optimal. Falling down to fourth is even less optimal, but he is running side by side here, so we'll have to see if he can sneak out ahead of the Merc. And I think he'll be able to do that. Actually here, Leclerc is kind of attacking Bottas as well, so that could be more problematic in the grand scheme of things here.
Overtake is available.
Yeah, it looks like we're kind of settling into here Bottas Leclerc show. Although the fight isn't really completely over, we basically ended it there. So yeah, the plan here is to try and have Bottas and Show kind of run away. It's going to be a little bit more difficult now when we have kind of Show squeezed in between, well, Leclerc squeezed in between our cars. But I still don't think it's going to be much of a problem. Now, most cars are going for medium with the exception of the Alphas and Stroll. So tire-wise, shouldn't be any problems. As you can see, we're already kind of pulling away from Leclerc. And with DRS now available, hopefully we can pull away enough that we don't, you know, keep him within DRS distance. But even if we do, it's not a problem to have Leclerc running with us, because we have gotten away from Russell, Verstappen, and Paris, and that's kind of the main takeaway from this. But we'll probably end up just recharging the energy and then attack in a little while. So that's the plan. Let's see if we can pull it off. We have a virtual safety car. We have a Norris in the wall, which is unfortunate because Bottas just barely got away just now. And honestly, we're going to try and get Show away too. But yeah, Norris had a bit of an incident. Yep, that is him out. And we get the classic beep. But yeah, under virtual safety cars, under safety cars, you can actually keep these settings as they are. Particularly early on, I would tune them down because it did help in 22. Doesn't seem to be, you know, any difference in 23. So you can tune it down, you can keep them as they are. I personally would just do this, it's just simpler. But once this virtual safety car is over, the goal that we're going to have is going to be twofold. That is to retain this gap for Bottas and for Show to try and get away from Leclerc here. If we can do that, I think we're in a good position. But it's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm pretty sure Leclerc does have DRS on this straight, and the Show now is kind of walking the line between DRS and no DRS. We do need him to just push now as much as he can, get away from Leclerc, and it's going to be rough, don't get me wrong. But if we can get away from him and kind of run for ourselves, that's going to make our race 10 times easier. But Leclerc is not giving in. He's pushing kind of, not really pushing, and that's the scary part. He's not really pushing, but he's keeping up. But I think we'll be able to kind of live with this, you know, distance between them, and we'll be pushing now until we get to that first pit stop and potentially rain. But apparently we immediately have another crash here, so let's see what actually happened.
What was that?
That looks fairly weird, in my opinion, but I don't think that's going to be a safety car or anything. So yeah, for now, we'll just keep on pushing, and we'll see where we're at once we get to that first pit stop of ours. We're getting very close now to that first pit stop. We have gotten a little bit of gap here, but nothing too major, which means that once we do pit, we are going to get overtaken. We estimate to have about 22-second pit stop, so yeah, it's not going to be the best thing here. We're going to come out between Hamilton and Gasly. And what I am thinking here is that we are going to stretch for a couple more laps here because we're not really losing any time to the cars behind. So we'll do one more lap here, then we'll pit Bottas, and then we'll be pitting Show on the following lap. So he'll have to make those tires last a couple more laps, but it is basically just preferential. Now we have pushed a little bit further than we really wanted to on the fuel here, but that is actually fine because the fact that we are going to have a bit of rain, and you'll usually get a lot of your fuel back during, say, rainy periods. Now, Bottas did come out pretty far back here, but honestly, again, we have a DRS train, so getting back past shouldn't actually be an issue. And Show here actually beats him out, so bit unfortunate, but we'll keep on working here, try and getting both cars back up into first position. And these guys might try and actually keep on these tires until the rain arrives. It's not too long now, so we'll have to see exactly how much we get. And as you can see here, towards the end here, we might need to go inters. We'll have to see exactly how much we end up getting. For now, though, we'll be pushing and we'll be trying to make our way back up into the front of the pack. So the rain has arrived, and we're getting very close to that 0.8 mark. Sainz actually pits here. I assume that's going to be for inters. And this is kind of in, you know, an edge zone of should we pit or not, because depending on how high the water goes here, it's supposed to not go any, you know, much higher than this, if any. There's going to be a slight increase here. But this is going to be kind of hard to manage. And as you can see here, Leclerc, Perez, both pits. We kind of stay out here. And we actually get a little bit blocked there by Rick. But the AI is going for inter tires. And I think we kind of have to do the same here. So we're going to be pitting Bottas on this lap. Probably should have pitted them a little bit earlier. But I didn't think we'd get just about enough rain here for Inters. That is a little bit annoying. So, we'll have to see though. Show is still running well. Like, his lap times aren't bad. 24.6 on this last one versus 25.7. I want to see if anyone has any better lap times than him, because if they don't, we might just keep him out. Unless it goes up, you know, massively in the next couple of minutes. Because right now, Show's running 24.6 on that last lap. There is a 24 blank here. 24.7. That 24 blank does worry me though, so honestly, probably the best move here is to pit him. Which is gonna suck, but it is what it is. I want to see here exactly what kind of, you know, numbers we end up doing. So Show actually comes out in 4th here, not too bad. He's gonna get overtaken by Russell. The main thing here now is actually the temperature on these. They go up to 105, so no real concern. But yeah, 22, 23, yeah, so we kind of pitted him there at the right time. Should probably pitted both our drivers a lap earlier to make our lives a little bit easier. And we actually have Russell here being very aggressive and getting an overtake done. So yeah, definitely working for him. Now we are just going to go full attacker, I think, and we'll have to see exactly how well these tires handle that. We're also going to have to see how we handle the dry period after. But for now, we'll try and make our way back up into the front. Didn't manage this too well. I rarely do when it's wet because, again, it's kind of hard to judge without the numbers. So we didn't react well enough, and that's on me. For now, though, we are going to try and move back up into the top positions, and we'll see what if we can pull that off. So pit stop have started, and we didn't actually jump on them quick enough. That is on me. Focus a little bit more on getting past than, you know, getting into the pits. And honestly, I think the play here is going to be just do a double stop, and Bottas had a little bit of a spin here, so double stopping is definitely the perfect play. I don't think he suffered any damage though, so honestly it should be fine from that perspective. And we did block the track a little bit, but we don't actually block anyone behind. So yeah, spin didn't actually do anything for us, but it does make it a lot harder to get overtakes done now that we're going onto the soft tire. And we are going to be going probably just full attack till the end. It's just 11 laps to go. So we're going to have to really, really push to make this this work. Show is going to come out in 5th, potentially 6th here, so I should just fly by. So we have a little bit of work ahead of us. Not the best race in... not the best race we've ever had, let's just put it like that. And the tire should more than survive the full attack here that we want to put them on. So, for Show, we are going to tell him to do high overtake aggression. We kind of have to. He has a DRS train to contend with, which is going to make life really hard here. So, we'll try and get the best done. It's going to be difficult, though, for sure. So pushing has gone well so far. Shows up into 4th. We have Bottas here up in 7th still, but he is close enough to Verstappen that he can launch an attack. We should be able to snatch a podium here for Show, but with just 4 laps to go, it's going to be difficult to get a win. So it's just me mishandling the wet surface. It happens. I do have a tendency to underestimate it, overestimate it, and kind of get the wrong idea. It is probably my weakest aspect in this game, let's be honest. Show, though, is moving up pretty rapidly here. He's actually about to take Perez as well, I think. Probably take him on the next straight. Do need to get by quick if you want to have any chance of chasing down Leclerc. And for Bottas here, he's actually not out of the podium discussion just yet. We have extra energy. Can use a little bit of that to close in on Russell here. A little bit too late, though, to get DRS on the straight, but should be far enough ahead that Sainz and Verstappen behind aren't going to, you know, get into attacking distance. So, bit of an interesting scenario here, honestly, for Show. But I'll wait for Show to get the overtake done. We can look at Bottas doing it instead. And with 4 seconds now up to the podium, 1 lap to do it, that's going to be probably too much to ask. And for Show here now, it's probably going to be too much to ask him too. To get that done, honestly. So we'll see. He might be lucky, he might not be, but he did at least put in a solid effort, I dare say. Okay, that is actually dizzying, is the best way I can describe that. We had a little bit more energy and maybe we could make something happen, but yeah, not into that final corner, unfortunately. Bottas, though, gets fourth, we get second. Leclerc first, Perez third, Russell, Sainz, Verstappen, Gasly, Hamilton, and Alonso. Tsunoda, even in Williams, finishes 11th. That's this year's something, it said, so maybe some sort of celebration. My bad. But yeah, we ended up second and fourth, not too shabby. Driver Championship again, pretty much settled. And nothing really of interest. We'll have a look at that, though, once we get towards the end of the year. One error this time around, nothing too major, we can live with that. We did actually finish all of our goals, so I didn't think we'd be able to pull that off, but that was a pretty decent comeback on those soft tyres. But let's face it, if we had hard AI for that race, I'm pretty sure they would have pushed much harder on that final soft stint, because they had tyre, they'd be going aggressive, everyone would be. We're not going to take any more sponsor obligations. Basically, they want us to do 3 more driver media appearances, even though there's not that many races. So yeah, bit of a weird one. Front wing has been manufactured. We have some failed parts that we're going to replace. And of course, we're going to end up, you know, making new parts. But honestly, I think we're fine for the rest of the year. In terms of our powertrain components, I don't think we're going to need to buy any more of them unless we have a crash. Next up, though, we have Brazil, which is the final sprint weekend of the season. Once we're done with that, we should be, well, basically into smooth sailing. Let's jump into Brazil here as soon as we get things set up. And again, I do like to be a little bit cautious with the sponsor goals. There's one driver in the on the podium, and we can kind of guarantee that both drivers are going to make it into Q3 unless they crash, so that is fine. Let's head to Brazil and see if we can have a good result. Looks like we're going to have a rainy sprint. So for the sprint here, we're going to go with just a medium. We can run aggressive, but it's going to bring us very close to that 30% mark. So what we're going to do here is just push like we usually do for the first couple of laps, then run standard towards the end, and, you know, make a move from there. In terms of qualifying, we ended up second and third with only Sainz ahead of us, so that should make this a fairly simple affair. There is not going to be any rain for the sprint, so it should be pretty straightforward. We do have an interesting thing, though, with Verstappen down in 17th, Leclerc down in 14th, so the rainy qualifying did create a little bit of an interesting situation, and I believe we saw an Aston Martin get sent flying there.
Now I'm just looking here, possibly Ocon's part of that. Now we're watching Esteban Ocon here. Not a lot of wiggle room here.
A little bit of a tap on that Aston. And I believe the Aston is out. I don't know how it ended up with rear wing damage there, but yeah, this is indeed an unforgiving sport. That is one way to put it. But yeah, unfortunately, Stroll had a good time and immediately got assassinated. But this does make our strategy a lot easier, because now we can just speed things along here and then do a restart. So Ocon actually ran. That's actually something I like seeing, because you all probably saw that, but Ocon actually did the entire lap. And then he pitted and retired. So that is nice. I've seen that a couple of times now. It is a very nice detail that they've added. So yeah, looks good. However, for the restart here, this is going to make things a lot easier in terms of going, you know, aggressive towards the end here. We'll have to see exactly how, you know, aggressive Sainz is going to be. But this could make things very interesting. It's also going to ensure that Verstappen and Leclerc, for that matter, potentially they're just going to be stuck in purgatory come race day. So again, something that makes our life a little bit easier, having Tsunoda up in 6th, Norris, Piastri, Gasly, De Vries in 11th, you know, things like that. But yeah, this is a long safety car. 5 laps now. There we go. Safety car is
Okay.
ending.
Safety car will be in this lap. At the restart, it will be mode race.
Okay.
So yeah, the goal is just going to be to kind of push. We are going to put them down to, you know, rarely defend, low overtake aggression. You don't really lose much in terms of, you know, getting overtakes done, defending. But you can remove so many instances of where your drivers crash and, you know, destroy your budget. So with that in mind alone, I'd say tuning them down to rarely defend, to low here is going to be the play. It basically lessens the you know, the chance of an overtake, but you lower the risk of spin lockups and collisions, and you get the same here basically on rarely defend. Less risk of, you know, incidents, and that's kind of what we like to see. For now though, we are going to tune both cars down to just probably standard here, to be fair. We're going to keep on pushing fuel, but we are running now with signs, and honestly, again, we can just deal with them as we get closer towards the end of this GP. We'll have to see if we can actually keep Russell behind, though. We have used a little bit too much of our energy. So for now, we'll just stay where we are. Potentially Bottas gets an overtake done. But honestly, we're kind of happy with our current situation. So we'll play it a little bit safe, and we'll make a move towards the end of this sprint. We've had another incident here.
Kevin Magnussen, it looks like.
With Magnussen, and probably his brother there, the other house. A little bit of a touchdown, nothing too major. Probably going to be a penalty though, let's be honest. But yeah, currently we're still looking good here. We're running first and third. Sorry that my voice is a little bit scuffed. Been coughing a little bit right before this. Hulkenberg picks up a penalty. It happens. But yeah, we're just going to keep on doing what we are doing. And Verstappen here now down into 15th. Leclerc made a little bit of an advance, but it's basically just a DRS train up to Tsunoda. So we'll stay where we are, make a move towards the end. As I say that, Show has apparently been part of an incident. Sainz is kind of parked. We might be picking up a penalty here.
We head into turn 2. And you can see how tight it is. Oh, that's quite an impact between them. Now that had the
Guess
potential
Sainz
to
got
do
pushed
some
a little
real
bit
damage.
off track there. Potentially, but I don't know. We'll have to see
Now
who
down
eats
at
the
the
penalty for
centre
that one.
is, with not much room to move. And the contact between the cars.
Let's be fair, they didn't actually have any room to take the corner, so I don't know. I don't know if that counts as fair racing, honestly. Maybe a little bit too rough. We'll have to see if we eat a penalty, though. That's the thing. Yeah, Show did indeed eat a penalty. So, with 8 laps to go, we don't really gonna have any other option than to just go aggressive, I think. Same if for Bottas, go aggressive. Use what energy that we have to try and get away from the cars behind. We don't really have any other options here. So, Bottas deploy, since he's ahead right now. Well, actually, Show is ahead. So, Show deploy. Well, Bottas deploy, Show deploy. Honestly, I have to just have them both deploy. But I like to then basically have them play off each other and pull away from Paris and Russell. That would be the thing here. And as long as we can get away from that DRS train behind us, I think we can potentially be running aggressive. Maybe get 5 seconds or so before the end of this race. We might need to go just full attack. Gamble a little bit with Show, because he's going to have a hard time to, you know, get the gaps that we need. Although it is looking up, it's not looking great. So yeah, not the best situation currently. And as you can see, also he did lose a bit of tire life. So probably gonna be Paris jumping ahead of us here, to be fair. But I think we might be able to get ahead of Russell. For now, though, we're just gonna try and manage our tires, manage our fuel, manage everything towards the end of this race. The only other option that we have is to have Bottas fall back and slow them down. But I don't think that is a viable scenario, so we'll just play a little bit safe here and try and create the distance that we need before the end of this race. And right now, it seems to be working pretty well, at least down to Russell. But as I said, Paris is going to be a hard nut to crack. We're currently starting the final lap here. As you can see, Paris isn't that far behind. We didn't really, you know, get any proper gap. But we should be able to maintain the gap down to Russell. That's going to be the play here. As long as we can keep Russell away, we can at least get both cars on the podium. So, honestly, not the worst here. Tsunoda potentially getting a 5th place is going to be massive for Williams. And we have Norris, Alonso, and Leclerc who made it back up. This is still going to be a fairly interesting, race on Sunday with this, honestly. A lot of cars out of position, Sainz, Leclerc. But yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that we did pick up that penalty, but honestly, nothing really could do with that. It happens. And as you can see, Show did get moved down to 3rd. Unfortunately, Tsunoda actually is going to be picking up a component penalty. Same with Leclerc and Alonso, so they'll be moved down anyways. Which is going to suck a little bit for them, but it is what it is. Now, for the race itself, I'm thinking that we start on the medium tire. We're going to the hard. A kind of standard strategy at this point. And for Bottas here, he actually has an extra set of medium. And I believe that is the same kind of for our other driver as well. So this is probably what we're going to try and do. Just go aggressive, attack aggressive. Or, switch off to a more aggressive strategy with a 2-stopper. Could also work, but honestly, this should be a decent enough strategy. And as I said, we do have a somewhat of a car advantage. If this doesn't work, we'll just go with, say, two soft attacks. Turn this one into a standard strategy. And honestly, that should be acceptable again. Should be a decent enough strategy for us. So that's what we're going with here. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but it should do the job on Sunday.
We're not too far away from the... Who will win? Only time will tell.
So we have soft tires, which is going to make our life a little bit more difficult because soft tires are pretty good around here. So Perez could potentially run away because soft tires, they have a 3/10 advantage. They keep that for about 10 laps. Well, the advantage gets smaller each lap, but you get what I'm saying. So if he gets by on the first corner, he might be a bit of a menace. And as you can see, Show also is kind of losing out to Russell, but luckily is coming back at him. So potentially here, we could have Perez be a little bit more of a workhorse for us. Basically, he ends up dragging us forwards. So that wouldn't be too bad. Yellow flag. Multiple cars crashed. We've had another incident here in Brazil. And it's Sainz. To get abused by the Haas? Basically, yeah. Luckily, that looked like mostly just wheel banging. But definitely some suspension damage, I would assume. But yeah, Bottas now running 2nd, Show running 4th, and honestly, this is fine. Perez is on a softer compound, but he'll be using those up pretty quickly. Magnussen with a penalty. No one is pitting, so no massive damage here, although they both lost a little bit of tire durability. So honestly, pretty fine for us. For now, though, we are going to kind of settle in again. Just play a little bit slower. We do have Norris behind Show, so we don't really have much pressure here. If we can just run with Russell and Perez, have them kind of do the most of the work for us, because Russell, I would assume, is still pushing. And we've had another incident here. Tsunoda, unfortunately, crashes out from 8th place. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's him just straight up out of the race. That rear wing is gone. I would like to see him pit now, honestly. Because you can see that big hole in the rear wing. That's basically going to make him into a moving barrier. But he opts to not pit. The damage to the tire, though, is also massive. So, yeah, we'll have a look at the lap time. But this is one of those incidents where I'd really like it if just the AI ended up pitting the car. Sorry, not pitting, retiring the car. Because it's not really going to be able to do anything. He's already 3 seconds slower than his, compatriots here. So, it's not great. Let's put it like that. For now, though, we're just going to kind of manage where we are. Try and, make these tires last until the pit window. And we'll see how we look once we get there. We've had yet another incident here. In this case, let's see exactly who's had an incident. It's Sainz again with the same Haas. So these guys are going to be dangerous.
And oh,
Luckily, just a smaller wheel banging, but yeah, the confidence of both of those are going to be so low that they're both going to be kind of dangerous here. So Noda is still going, but yeah, he's going to probably be lapped like 5 or 6 times by the end of this. So both of them have a penalty now. Both of them are going to be dangerous once we actually catch up to them. So yeah, not looking forward to that. For now though, again, we're just going to kind of settle where we are and see where we can get towards the end of this race. Sainz ends up pitting as well. I guess he took wheel damage as well. But yeah, for now, we'll just stay where we are. And hopefully, we'll have a good race here. Show has been in an incident, but I don't think it's anything massive by the looks of things. But yeah, this is definitely a very, very incident-heavy race so far.
pushing a bit too hard at this point. And there, the cars make contact.
Just a slight touch, and they both got sent flying, but luckily no damage of any sort. We'll see who takes the penalty. It is Show. That's gonna be a bit, painful, but he did hit him from behind, so honestly, that was kind of a slam dunk one, let's be honest. We are gonna try and have Show push here, maybe get away from Russell, which would be nice. The bigger the gap we create before we pit, the better. But yeah, that's not optimal. And as you can see, Bottas is still running with Perez. It is now 17 laps, so honestly, we really should try and get Bottas away from Perez, because at this point, we're basically just helping him a little bit. We're switching back and forth within the DRSs, so we'll have to see what we can do there. Show is doing his best to get rid of Russell, but just doing a little bit too little, as Russell still has DRS, and he's going to have it here now also for the next straight, so unfortunately, I don't think we're getting away.
Overtake available. Copy.
And that's going to be slightly problematic here, most likely. Yeah, we just aren't getting enough to get away from him, so we'll just have to live with the current situation. And we'll just speed along and out until the pit stop. We'll try and save a little bit of energy, save a little bit of everything, and hopefully here, it won't be too bad. So Perez has just opted to pit. He came out behind Stroll here, but we are going to stretch Bottas for, well, we're actually going to pit him on this lap. And with that, we're going to put him into full attack. And we're going to do the same for Show, because we're going to be pitting him next lap anyways. So this should be fine. Show actually has 2 sets of hards, so we could actually try something a little bit cheeky. Just want to make sure that I haven't forgotten something like, in this case, the hards aren't actually good at all. So yeah, we might have wanted to try and avoid them, but we'll try and see if we can make the hards work here. But as it's now pitting, the goal is going to be to come out ahead of Perez. That's going to be probably a little bit challenging here. And as you can see, we actually come out a couple of positions behind Perez because we waited a little bit too long maybe before we pitted. We'll have to see now where actually Show ends up coming out, because he also has that penalty to contend with. But hopefully we can make something, still make something out of this race. Everyone ahead of us here, including Perez, is on medium tires, so we'll have to see if we can actually get by them, or if they're going to just be, roadblocks. Show coming out at 10th is not really that bad either. A lot of free air in front of him, so he can kind of make up for what he has somewhat lost here. I probably should have had a look at what happened to Bottas there, because he got a pretty amazing overtake done. Running 3 wide into turn 3. Okay. And he gets a double overtake done. That is ballsy, but he made it work, and that's the important part. But yeah, as I said, we're going to keep on moving the cars upwards, and we'll have to see what we do with that final pit stop. We're getting very close now to that final pit stop. We have Russell here pitting onto a new set of mediums a few laps earlier. But honestly here, it is looking fairly good. Show has, as you can see, just made it up into 2nd place. And Perez here too is going to be pitting alongside us, but it is a bit of a fight, bit of a struggle at the moment. So for Bottas here, we're just going to be pitting him on this lap. He's estimated to come out 4th. So that is honestly a-okay. And for Show, we're going to stretch him probably this lap. We do want to pit him this lap though. And the choice is actually kind of interesting, because he does have that extra set of hards, which allow him to potentially, instead of doing this, he could do this. And If we wanted to do this, we probably would have liked to pit him a little bit earlier. But in terms of lap times, it's going to be fairly equal. And because of that, I think we're going to put him on the hard, because that will actually allow him to, you know, kind of get around any incidents. Give him that extra little bit of, you know, he can push till the end. And hopefully that will be okay. Now, we have to see if Perez ends up pitting this lap too, because Perez's tires are more gone than ours, so I actually estimate that he would pit. But Bottas got his pit stop done. He's still in net first. Show is going to come out here in 5th, 6th. So a little bit of work ahead of us, but honestly, with Alonso on dead tires, with Leclerc on, you know, lower end hards, Perez is going to be a bit of a problem on those softs, but honestly nothing too major. We can just harvest and then work our way forwards. So as long as we stay with Perez here, I don't think we're going to have any issues with the show. Show can just stay with Perez. Once Perez's tire starts dying out in 10 or so laps, he can get the overtake done. And let's be honest here, by then Leclerc will have already pitted. But as you can see right now, Perez is pushing. He is getting away. So we'll have to push ourselves and see if we can catch up. Now, we are going a little bit too aggressive here with Bottas. I forgot to tune him down, so we'll go standard. We have the laps to, you know, make that happen, so it's not really a big deal. For now, though, we are going to work with Show and see if we can catch up to Perez by the end of this race. Show has caught up to Perez right now, and we're going to try and get the attack done now on the straight. And if not, we're going to probably try and, you know, get the move done within the next few laps. It's just 7 laps to go. Bottas is running pretty nicely out front. Degradation as expected. Kind of the same for Show, actually less than expected. But we aren't getting the oomph that we really need to get by Perez here. We're just a little bit too far back, but that should be it. And as you can see, Perez tires are down to 50%. Ocon, Leclerc, both tires are down as well. Verstappen, Sainz, neither has been able to really make any inroads. Tsunoda is not having a good time. Let's just put it like that. He is 3 times lapped, so not as massively as I thought he would be. I assume Magnussen too might have some wing damage potentially. Doesn't really look like it, but as one might imagine, they might be a little bit in a troublesome situation. Show has gotten away from Perez, and as long as he can maintain that gap, there's no reason why he shouldn't, you know, just float into 2nd place there. So we'll speed along till the end of this race. So the race is over and done with. We ended up 1st and 2nd. Perez 3rd, Russell 4th. Unfortunately, no fastest lap for us. Probably could have put a Bottas a little bit earlier, gone for that, to be fair. It wouldn't actually have been a problem, I think. Leclerc 5th, Ocon 6th. Then we have the 2 Aston Martins, Hamilton, and then finally Norris. Verstappen did make it up to 11th. But yeah, it was definitely a disappointing day for Williams in particular, but also Sainz, Magnussen, Piastri. Basically a lot of incidents going on. But yeah, pretty certain that we have the championship kind of in hand then. 2 races to go now. We have Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi. And we're just going to speed along through them. Las Vegas is one of those tracks that is kind of annoying though, because not really easy to overtake or anything like that. So we'll have to see how we handle that situation. We do have some failed front wings, rear wings, side pods here, so we're just going to go ahead and replace them first. And I think we're getting to a point where we don't really need to worry about making new ones, particularly the rear wings. Side pod, I guess we could manufacture one in case we have an incident, but honestly, I don't think we're going to need to. It's just 2 races remaining. Cost cap wise, we have a massive 30 million remaining, so honestly, we could have used more for development. But again, I do like to be safe here. Suddenly you have a crash where you need a couple of engines, that's 10 million, so that's just the way I play the game. You are perfectly fine with pushing design and research, basically putting engineers on all these projects to make them finish quicker, if that is what you prefer. It's basically, again, play these games how you like. It's a single player game. There's nothing that stops you from playing more risky than I do. But again, I don't see a need to do that. Now, the suspension here is getting hit, so let's have a look at the board just quickly here and see how well we've done our job. So suspension here needs a little bit more job. Needs a little bit more job. That sentence needs a little bit more work. Lacking a little bit on the underfloor here, but they should be done with like a research or two, so that's not an issue. Front rear wing lacks a lot, but the main thing with the rear wing isn't really the downforce, it's more the velocity, drag reduction, DRS delta, so I'm fine with that. Front wing needs a little bit of work, but honestly, the suspension is actually fairly interesting this year because it is important. That is the thing. Your suspension will be your largest source of brake cooling, but it'll also be a it'll also be a large source of your low speed downforce. So while putting the wind tunnel time in it isn't necessarily recommended, so to speak, I'm still going to do it because we want to focus on getting that low speed cornering in particular up. And the thing here with low speed cornering in particular is that low speed cornering on pieces that have airflow and downforce is that if I want to maximize low speed cornering, I need to maximize, you see, the airflow front, because if I turn this to minimum, it has a small effect on the low speed downforce. But next time we make a part, it's going to have more of it. So we're going to do like this. Something like this, honestly, you don't get much, if any, as you see, both medium and high-speed downforce for that matter. So we're going to do this. You could, of course, also go a little bit more aggressively on the top speed here. But honestly, low speed, if anything, I like maybe want to do more brake cooling. So we'll do this. Because brake cooling is, again, your major source of brake cooling is going to be your suspension, and then a little bit on your front wing. Okay, monthly car development report. Car isn't that good at, following, which is why we suck so much at rain. But that is fine. Also the fact that we, suck at overtaking in the rain. I am going to make one more suspension though, because those are very likely to fail. So let's just get that done. Drive development. Bottas continues his cornering performance, braking, defending, and accuracy for show. Love to see it. And a little bit of development here for Porsche, who's kind of been neglected at the second half of this season. Now, pit crew training schedule. We don't really care of anything here other than to make sure that this doesn't happen, that they get into wary. We don't want that before the last few races. And interestingly enough, if they go into wary, exhausted, they will kind of slow down slightly on their training. So you don't really want to get in there too much either, just, to get in there. For now, though, we're just going to keep this. The AI set it up. We are going to be finishing this season, so how we train the pit crew after the end of this year isn't actually going to be anything that we need to, be worried about, so to speak. Revving research complete. What we are going to do, though, is actually do a low speed, high speed, medium speed, although I am also tempted to just get the airflow, the dirty air tolerance going. But it does give us a little bit of cornering ability, so we'll go ahead and research that slightly. That should still be fine. We'll still get a little bit of the other stats here. But honestly, it could be more beneficial to just say that we'll take the loss and then maybe full focus research next year and get a little bit more top speed and DRS effectiveness. But honestly, we'll just do this. It's kind of one of my rules for research. We want to cover what we're losing before we do anything else. Sidepod manufacturing has been completed, which is nice. And I believe this is the suspension. There we go. We actually got it done in time for Las Vegas. Fastest lap, we'll try again. Usually that is something that I tend to forget to do. And both drivers top 10. Again, both drivers in Q3 is a very, 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 basic thing to do. But it's very good for money making. In case you have, a little bit of an incident. For now, though, we're going to Las Vegas, and we're going to see how we perform here.
Red flag, follow that up.
So we've had a red flag in quali here. It didn't actually tell us who, caused the red flag, because that would be too much. But that actually puts Hamilton out, it puts Sainz out, so it makes our life a little bit easier. Tsunoda makes it into Q3 again. Verstappen is going to take a penalty, but we still have Q3 to do, so let's see how we look after that. Qualifying is over. We ended up second and third, which is pretty nice. Verstappen is going to have a grid penalty, so we should be starting front row. And that should be making our lives a heck of a lot simpler here. And we are starting first and second. Now, Las Vegas is an annoying track to overtake on, and usually you end up with a lot of DRS trains. As you can see here, the tires aren't really that different from each other. There's 0.2 difference from soft to medium, precisely. Basically means the softs are better than medium for 10 laps. 300s from, you know, medium to hard. So the hard tires here are actually fairly good. And what we're going to do is actually start on that fairly good hard tire. Because, well, it's going to allow us to, you know, have the better start. Now, in terms of what we want to do with the others here is pretty much something like this. Stopping twice is going to be a little bit of a hard thing to do, but I think that is the best option that we have for us. And since we are starting both cars on the front here, we shouldn't have too much of a problem in terms of getting away and getting things kind of done. So this is what we'll go for. Is it going to work out? We'll have to see. We might need to adjust, again, the final soft stint here to maybe just an aggressive one. But I think this is the better strategy here. Because, again, it is a little bit harder to overtake. You can definitely be held up behind cars for forever. So if we're running in a very aggressive strategy, you want to start on the hards. But honestly, starting on a soft tire here, if you are starting towards the back of the midfield, and then pushing as hard as you can, trying to make up a couple of positions, get a little bit further up before that tire dies, then pitting onto a hard tire, say you're now 10-15 seconds behind the pack, can actually work pretty well. So this is what we're going to do though. We're just going to do that from the front. It should still be fairly effective here.
The city of Las Vegas is up. We're all ready to go in Las Vegas.
Soft tire behind us, mediums,
And it's lights
more
out.
soft tires.
Away we
That
go.
is a little bit worrisome, but it looks like we had a decent start here for Bottas. Not as good for show, but we are definitely lining up here 1-2, which is kind of what we like to see. So very good start for what we're hoping for. We'll turn the cars down again to just not risk anything, and that should be pretty much, you know, the start here underway. And if they are running, you know, in formation till the end, that would have been beautiful. But the longer Perez stays behind here, the more that his tires gets eaten up. Same here for the medium runners, for Russell. So no, actually, yeah, opting to do our strategy, the better for us. But yeah, we're going to try and stay ahead here. That's going to be the play. And if we can, it's going to pay off very well. But as you can see, Perez is having a little bit of an advantage on those soft tires. But again, each lap, he'll have an advantage for 10 laps, and every lap he's going to be losing 500s. Every second lap, he's going to be losing a 10th. So if you take that into consideration, within just a few laps here, he's going to have a very, very hard time getting any sort of overtaking done. We'll push for now, and we'll see where we're at once we get closer to our first pit stop. The first incident of the race has just happened. We have a yellow flag. Lewis Hamilton and a Haas by the looks of things. Just a very slight wheel banging, nothing too serious. But yeah, as you can see, we're still running first and second, and the other car's tires are probably starting to fall off a little bit. We might consider using the energy that we have, and it's an investigation, no penalties given. So again, I do like the fact they've added kind of racing incidents. It makes the game a lot better when, you know, not every incident is just a penalty for the penalty's sake. Now, what we're going to do now is actually try and get away from the rest of the pack. And the way that we're going to do this is at the end of this straight, whoever is ahead of our car is going to deploy. And honestly, the second car should deploy too, because we want to use these corners here to get away from the Ferrari before the DRS detection point. And if I'm not mistaken, it's actually behind this building. So we almost made that work.
No overtake.
Not really though. But we might just try that again. Just recharge and then try and get away from, you know, Leclerc. The quicker we get away from them, the better. But honestly, creating, you know, a little bit of a straining like this is good too. But if we can create a gap to Leclerc, that would be massive. So we'll keep on working towards that. The first set of pit stops here have started, and honestly, I'm thinking we might need to take advantage of that as well. Just pit a little bit earlier here. It's not going to be great for our strategy, but we might just need to do that in order to make sure that we don't get completely stuck behind other cars here. So currently we're doing 39, 40s. and the main concern is Norris doing basically around the same time. So what we're going to do here is actually get Bottas in this lap, and we're going to get Show in next lap, because if everyone is pitting, they might be able to just jump us on that merit. So we couldn't actually create the gap that we wanted here, and that is one of the reasons why we're going to have to change our strategy a little bit, to just pit now a little bit earlier than anticipated. And we're going to see now if Bottas can beat this crew out, and that's going to be the key here, and he does. So we're ahead of Perez. That is the important fact here, but we might get overtaken on the straight. It is a little bit uncertain. And potentially now Bottas could also pull those cars forwards, which would be bad for Show. But we did beat Perez, and again, that was a big one for Bottas. If Show can do the same, that would be amazing. But with the pit stop error, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but it does make it kind of work. So yeah, unfortunate there with the pit stop error, but we do make it work. Show is ahead of Perez, and again, this is kind of what we wanted to see. So we're still net first. 3 cars in front are going to have to pit, but we're definitely going to have to do an aggressive run now on the final soft stint. That's the only way we're going to make this this kind of work. But for now, we'll just stay where we are, and then we'll speed up towards that point. We're probably also going to have to try and get by Ocon here fairly quick, but Ocon actually got out ahead of us. That's amazing. I don't know how he pulled that off, but yeah, that's some witchcraft. That is definitely some witchcraft that Ocon actually got out ahead of Bottas. I don't even know where he was before we pitted. Yeah, I'm actually amazed here and a bit surprised. Where did Ocon come from?
It seems like Hulkenberg's had a bit of trouble.
Is there another Haas-on-Haas violence, or is the accident involved? I would say that it was the Aston's fault. He kind of squeezed him a little bit too hard there. But yeah, Bottas now being stuck behind Ocon is not a good thing for us. Yeah, Aston did get the penalty. But yeah, again, I don't know where Ocon came from. It's a bit surprising. So hopefully we can DRS our way by. That would be, you know, kind of king. And we'll be working our way towards that final pit stop and see if we can get a good race going here. Leclerc and Verstappen both pit, so hopefully we can beat both of them out, and that is not a problem. So very, very nice. Ocon is surprisingly quick on those hard tires, to be fair. So we have a bit of a problem here in the sense that the tires aren't lasting as long as we need them to. So we are going to have to pit here for soft tires, and we're going to be running them aggressively. We don't really have any other choice. For Show, we can probably gamble on running him 2 more laps before we pit him. But for Bottas here, this is going to potentially be not the greatest pit stop of all time. Everyone is on hard tires though, so he should have a little bit of a tire advantage. But this track, because of the 3 DRS zones, it's basically just one big DRS train. You have no way of creating gaps here, and we had no way of actually getting away from Ocon. I don't get how he is so quick here. But he has been quick, and that has been a bit of a problem for us. But for now, I think we're just going to keep Show out for this 1 more lap. We'll be pitting him this next one. And unless he has an error, he should be coming out around where Bottas is. But again, it's just amazing how quick the AI is around this track compared to our own drivers in this case. So, yeah, Bottas there did set fastest lap. Is getting about 2 seconds a lap. So this could work. We'll have to try and see what we can do. And we'll be working up to getting towards, you know, the top spots of the podium by the end of this race. With just a couple laps left here, Bottas is up into 4th, Show is up into 5th, but for some reason we just aren't getting the overtakes done here. Ocon is still leading, but he does have his Verstappen breathing down his neck. And we have now gotten past the car towards our final lap here. So this is going to be probably a little bit close. We should probably deploy on Show here. And that should be enough that it gets by the Ferrari. But the fact that they're probably going to be running side by side here till the end is going to be a little bit, you know, bad for the overtaking. Although, Bottas is potentially now going to get the move done. Maybe. Nope. And we should be getting onto the straight now. It's going to be a little bit close. I don't think we are going to be able to, you know, get the overtake done. Both sides have DRS, but we might see a surprise win here from Ocon, and that in its own right is kind of impressive. Now Verstappen is kind of holding us off here, and we now are into the final corner. Going to be a little bit of a photo finish there, but that's definitely impressive. Although Show did run out of fuel, so we risked it a little bit too much. Perez did park here too, so I think he might too be out of fuel potentially. Stroll here is going to be losing a lot here due to penalties and the fact that the session is suspended. So we did kind of break the game there towards the end. But that's an okay result. I am a bit impressed though by Ocon. Verstappen did basically lost the first challenge almost. But Ocon here did an amazing race for Alpine. And if you consider the fact that the top four here are separated by just a couple of tenths in reality, that is pretty wild, honestly. So we have Ocon, Verstappen, then Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Stroll, Russell, and Alonso. So I guess Stroll got saved there, didn't have to serve that penalty. I guess we parked and broke the game somehow. With that though, I'm a little bit surprised there. But Ocon has actually scored a decent amount of points. He's been on the podium twice. He did get a race win now, so that is good for Alpine. Constructor stand before the final race here. I don't think we're going to see any big changes here. Potentially Red Bull might get Ferrari. But Ferrari is looking at the moment poised to beat Red Bull. Merc in fourth. Alpine is close though. If Alpine pulls another performance like that out, they could beat Merc for fourth. Aston is currently sixth, pretty secure. Same for Williams. McLaren has Alpha. Unless we have a basically mayhem at the final race here, I don't think we'll be seeing any, big changes, so to speak. Now, with that said, we have one race remaining this season, and looking forward to getting, into that. But it's been a good run, honestly. I enjoyed this series a lot, but as I said, we do need to kind of cull some cull a series or two, because it's starting to become quite a lot of them. Sure, Bottas, I will approve of the skipping of the moral obligation there in this case. Research complete on the front wing. And we're just going to start another one right away, honestly. And again, we're just going to focus that low-speed cornering ability. We need a bit more of that. That's no surprise. This is pretty well matched to 29th of December. So let us go. Final race of the season. Let's see where we actually end up. Race prep, Abu Dhabi. Let's jump into it. Alright, qualification is over. We are starting second and third, and as you can see, Leclerc is picking up a penalty, so is Hamilton, Perez, Russell, and, well, a lot of people in the bottom 10 as well. So, final race of the season, and we have 9 grid penalties. That is a yikes moment. Let's just put it like that. So, we'll be starting front of the grid again, which should make our life easier, but our components are starting to wear out a little bit. Nothing too major, honestly. 58%, 61%, so we've actually done well for ourselves with the components here. Honestly, it's been a pretty good season. We haven't really had to buy anything except extra ERSs. So, been pretty good. We've been avoiding most of the crashing. We do enjoy that. And with the compound performance here, softs are going to be decent for, well, around 10 laps or so. The mediums are going to be, honestly, around the same, 12, 13 laps. So we can actually use a variety of tires. But what we're going to do here is probably good old faithful, which is medium into hard into 2 soft stints, which has actually worked fairly well for me. Provided, of course, if we get away from the AI. If we can't get away from the AI, this is going to be a little bit more risky. But honestly, it is a decent strategy. We're going to employ it here. We're going to try and push and get away. And then basically just work from there. So, last race of the season, Bottas is going to be our champion. There's just no way he's losing that by now. And honestly, it's been a good run. But we're going to go into this race, and then we'll have a look at the statistics and everything. And yeah, let's see how this goes.
Only 58. Anything could happen. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
First things first, we do want to, again, just get these settings on immediately. Good start from us. Both drivers held on to their positions. Norris is the only one on softs in top 10. Hulkenberg 2 technically now, so no real worries there. And I'm pretty sure that will allow us to kind of just push and get away, although we have both Verstappen and Sainz kind of on our heels right now. And Verstappen did take a penalty not too long ago, and he did do that, you know, last to second challenge, last race around. So he should have a fresh engine, which means that his engine is better than ours in the current moment. So we're definitely going to have to push to try and make something work here. But right now, it's already kind of settled into a rhythm. And we're just going to keep on pushing, try and create a gap to the cars behind. We're going to be creating a gap to Sainz soon enough. But it looks like we're going to have another one of those situations where either a Ferrari or a Red Bull ends up running with us. And honestly, for Red Bull's sake, Verstappen kind of needs to win this one if they want to beat Ferrari. So looking forward to seeing how this one develops. For now, though, we're just going to allow things to run as they are until we get to that first pit stop. Well, we also had a red flag here. A bit unsure what exactly happened,
Red flag.
because the gap is only down to Sainz. Hamilton. Oh, okay. That explains it. Yes, it was your teammate, and his car is completely busted. So that should be 3 cars out. But they stopped because of something that happened further forward. So that is even, you know, a little bit more surprising. The question now is, what do we do strategy-wise? And that's a difficult one, honestly. These have 86% left, so honestly, we're just going to stick with the strategy that we have, maybe? We're just going to be very boring here and just do the same thing. Usually not really recommended, but we're just going to try this out. That does put Merc out of contention, so that's going to be very interesting for the Alpines. So we actually have a couple of dramatic, you know, routes here that the way things can go. Lights out, away we go. We see Verstappen on hard tires, Sainz on hard tires. Everyone has switch tires except for us. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. Time penalty for Russell. Okay. Did he just get 2 time penalties in a row? Well, it doesn't really matter. He's out anyways. But yeah, it's going to be interesting now to see if we can, what we do with this, because everyone else is going to be staying out for a long time because most of them are on the hard tire. There's some soft runners, of course, a couple of medium runners, but this does make it kind of interesting to see if we can make something out of our strategy, because we're just going to stick to one that we have currently. And this is going to make it a little bit more interesting to see if we can actually, you know, make it work. For now, though, we're just going to keep on doing what we were doing before, try and get by Verstappen, create a gap, and then work from there. So we are getting closer now to our pit stop here. We haven't actually been able to leave Verstappen behind. There are some gaps forming, nothing really too serious here, though. And that's going to be a little bit of a problem for us, I think. And, well, we'll have to see if we can actually make something work here with these pit stops. But honestly, I think we'll be fine. We'll probably be towards the back of the grid, but it should be okay, I would think. And we'll see now exactly where Bottas ends up coming out. If it beats Rick out, I think he'll be fine. And as you can see there now, Stroll shouldn't be a problem. Albon, Norris, and Perez there shouldn't be a problem. Bottas actually gets overtaken, though. So, yeah, Rick being a little bit of a problem here, but honestly, shouldn't be anything too major. Once these tires come up to temperature, we should just kind of fly by. And particularly if we use energy to kind of help that, you know, move happen, it's going to be a lot easier. We are going to run fuel slightly further down here. And I'm thinking we want to run it down to probably 0.8, 0.9. And we will be working on getting ourselves up to, you know, the front of the pack, of course. So looking forward to seeing if we can make something happen here. But honestly, shouldn't be too much of a problem. We've had another incident here. Pretty sure it's just a minor incident, but as you can see, Bottas and Show both made their way pretty high up here. I would assume that's just a slight touch. But yeah, that AlphaTauri did hit the wall. So that is not great for them. That's going to be some suspension damage. But yeah, as you can see, the rest of the pack hasn't actually pitted yet. Bottas should be able to, I think, catch Verstappen and Leclerc by the end of the stint. Of course, unless he gets stuck behind the cars like he is now. So we'll have to see if we can actually make something, you know, work here. We're still planning to stop 2 more times. So Still have some work ahead of us. We'll have to see what we can actually make happen here. But Ocon and potentially Gasly, as I said, does have a interesting opportunity here to potentially, again, beat out Merck. But they're going to need, I think, maybe a little bit of help to make that happen. So we'll see how that actually ends up playing out. We're getting very close now to that second pit stop. We're actually going to do that this lap. And we're going to do the same for show. Just get him in at the same time. There is 6 seconds between them, so that should be plenty. Verstappen has just pitted. He's down into 6th. He went for the hard tire, so he will be on that until the end of the race. We're going to have to make up a pit stop, basically, which means that we have, you know, a little bit of work ahead of us here. No pit error for Bottas. We'd like to see that. No pit error for Show either. We do come out behind Paris, though, so need to put in a little bit of work to get by that. But we are going to do another pit stop. Ocon is running 2nd, so still some pretty interesting chances here in terms of Alpine beating Merck. And we'll have to see how the Ferrari versus Red Bull duel goes, because Perez is up in 6th, but Sainz and Leclerc are both pretty high up, although Leclerc do need to pit again. So we'll keep on working, and we'll see where we're at on the next pit stop. We're starting the final pit stops here. We're pitting Show first. Bottas has caught up to Leclerc and Verstappen, but honestly, it's going to be coming out pretty far back. Show in 6th now, but he should get at least Ocon and Sainz, so I say a podium is guaranteed, but I don't know if we're going to be able to catch Verstappen and Leclerc. We'll have 10 laps, or 9 laps actually, after we do this pit stop, so it's going to be a rough one for sure, and I don't think we're even going to beat Ocon out here. We did just barely, but he should be able to re-overtake us. 16 seconds now. Fighting, you know, old softs, old hards. It's gonna be a rough one. And honestly, if Ocon gets a podium here, it's looking good. But I don't think even that is going to be enough here for with Gasly out of the points. So looks like Ferrari is good too. We'll have to see after the race though. For now, we are going to try and hunt down the cars in front, and hopefully we might be able to get a little bit of a fight here for the win. Although Ocon is being kind of an annoyance in that regard, so put Bottas to high overtake aggression, and that should get the job done.
No more.
For now, though, we'll speed on towards the end of this race, and we'll see where we actually end up finishing. We've had a crash on the track here. This time it is Leclerc, or Leclerc. Let's have some respect on his name. That is a very light touch, so he might have actually gotten away with that without damage. Let's have a look here. Kind of looks like it, honestly. No, he's missing half his end plate, but that is not major damage. He should be fine. Bottas might actually catch him because of that, though. And Show has actually caught Ocon as well, so from our perspective, it's looking good, but we're going to have to really, really push here if we want to have any chance of catching Leclerc. We are doing a couple of seconds quicker lap time right now, so it's definitely doable or viable. But yeah, that is a bit unfortunate for the Ferraris. And it does kind of open up the potential here of Verstappen, because Verstappen is going to win. I don't think we're catching him. It does open up some potential here, so we'll see how that actually plays out. For now, though, we have 3 laps to go. Bottas is, as you can see, catching Leclerc, although getting held up a little bit by Magnussen there. He should have no problem just flying by here within a DRS zone or 2, so I'm not worried. Now, Show is a little bit too far behind to really make anything happen, and as I said, Bottas here could actually catch Verstappen potentially. Well, we did get a virtual there, so that kind of settles it, I think, unfortunately. And it's a Haas again. I think Haas has like been half the incidents this session, and that's a hole in the rear wing.
Oh, that'll be a costly crash.
But yeah, that is him out. Luckily, we did get the overtake done before the virtual, but we could have actually caught Verstappen here too, because we were catching 2 seconds per lap. We were 6 seconds behind. We had 3 laps to go, so Verstappen was within reach there. If it wasn't for this virtual safety car. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be catching anything, but let's just push and see how close we get. 3.7, 3.6, 3.4, 3.2, 2.9, 2.5. So yeah, we could definitely have caught Verstappen there. He got saved by that virtual safety car. But I think that means Ferrari holds off Red Bull, honestly. And I unfortunately think Ocon didn't score enough points there, even with that valiant effort last time around, to get Alpine ahead of the Mercs, even though they kind of took themselves out here. So with that here, Verstappen wins, Leclerc third, we go second and fourth, then we have Ocon fifth, Sainz sixth, Perez, Albon, Alonso, and Norris. With that, the driver championship here, Bottas wins, not really that surprising, 15 wins, 19 podiums, definitely deserves it. Show second with 2 wins, 17 podiums, and we have Leclerc finishing third, Sainz finishing fifth, the Verstappen and Perez fourth and sixth, Russell 7th, then Ocon, then Hamilton, then Gasly. So yeah, pretty close here, I'm pretty sure, between the Merc and the Alpines. But 5 points, just didn't get close enough. Same here, Ferrari held off more than well enough. I thought they were closer. Aston Martin, everyone is kind of safe here. So yeah, that is basically the end of the season and the end of this series. It's been fun, I'll be honest. It's been quite enjoyable. But as I said, we do need to cut down on the amount of series that I have. So we're going to be ending it here. I'm not going to be speeding towards the end of the season here, if I am to get this edited and uploaded before today's race. So thank you all who have enjoyed and watched this series. It's been fun to make it. Thank you very much for watching it, for all your likes, your comments, your everything. And I hope to see you on my other series. Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye bye.